welcome to my writing desk. Today I'm going to take us on a tour of Wingsung 630 with a couple of different nib sizes. The Wingsung 630 is very, very similar to one of the usual suspects from Germany. I believe it's purely coincidental that it looks so similar. After all, the design is so popular. Two geniuses can have similar ideas. Remember Tesla and Einstein? I think one of them cheated though. Let's take a look at all these Wingsungs. One of these is of course not a Wingsung. This is a Montblanc 149, which Wingsung so closely resembles. First of all, let's take a look at the Wingsungs. I have two of these that are opened and they're inked already, both of them with a very unique nib. And then I have a third one still in the box and I have to open it. So let's go through this. This is how it shows up from China. I'm a little bit suspicious of the preciousness of this resin because it's already like little micro scratches on there. And even the gold trim has a little bit of imperfections. The more precious resins, when they come out of the box, they generally do not have a similar number of scratches on them. But we can forgive them if the rest of the pen holds up. If you remember the newer models of 149 from 90s on, where they are tritone and you have gold on the outside, you have platinum, or what is it, platinum coating in the middle and then gold in the inside. So they're 100% imitating. And remember, the Montblanc has 4810 on the nib. The Wingsung has 1947. I assume that's the year that they were established. But anyhow, we also have a nice ink window with the same prison bar style stripes. And if we turn the piston is actually black. And most of the Montblancs these days, this part of the piston is white. So this is a unique finding. I'm very surprised. And then just looking at the piston itself, you can see that this is one of those Pelican style pistons. So they're not 100% copying the what. And making it a little bit easier to disassemble this piston with a Pelican tool or one of those Twisby wrenches. So at the first glance it looks very, very similar to the Montblanc 149 and even to this is the Jinhao X159 with the platinum coating, number 6 nib. As you can see, the Wingsung has slightly larger nib, probably a number 8. I didn't measure again. But in the first glance and first impression, the Wingsung does not feel as plasticky as the Jinhao. And it does seem to have a good weight on it. The great part of it, I think, is that it has a piston here, that part of it is metallic. So it gives us a nice weight and false impression that this is, the resin on this is a little bit more precious than it actually is. So let's ink this new Wingsung with my favorite ink of the day, which is the Montblanc Night Blue. When I first tried the Midnight Blue, I was super bummed because it says Midnight Blue. And most of the pens that don't have like super wet nibs, there is no blue to be seen. It's actually just dark shade of gray or light shade of gray, depending on which pen you're writing with. all inked up. We'll let it flow a little bit. Meanwhile, why don't we take a look at the Wingsung siblings? This with a little bit more special nib. This is the one with 14 karat gold and the heartbeat nib. It seems like the stainless steel nib is slightly larger compared to the 14 karat gold, and of course it's missing the heartbeat slits. As a doctor, I can tell you that that rhythm on a patient would not be good. This patient would probably need to be electrically shocked back into the correct rhythm, depending on what their blood pressure is and if they're alive or not. And comparing this to another Wingsung 630, we will see that our burgundy Wingsung is not the largest nib anymore, because I swapped the nib on this one with a Montblanc 149 vintage medium nib. So most people would get this pen and this steel nib. It is super affordable. It's around $35 to get one of these with a number 8 nib, a big piston filler, and striking resemblance to Montblanc 149. To me, if somebody is in the market or hoping that in the future we'll get a 149, this is probably the perfect way to go. If you compare this to the actual Montblanc 149, the weight is about the same. The way the handle in terms of grip section is almost identical. I haven't measured this, but you can see that it is pretty much identical. Even if you look at the feed, it looks very similar. The one thing that's different, of course, is the nib. This is an 18 karat gold nib, but this is a stainless steel nib, which we'll take a look at. So if somebody's considering buying a 149 in the future and they're not sure if it will fit their hand, what do you think? The ink is flowing? Maybe. Wingsung. Very good. So the ink flow is okay. It's kind of a little bit on the drier side. It writes all right, but you have to negotiate the paper. You have to mean it. You have to lay the pen nib down for it to start writing. I imagine a little bit of tuning will make this flow a little bit, actually a lot easier. Post test. It's good. It's still a little bit dry, so it might need a little bit more spreading of the wings to get a little bit more wet. So this is the stainless steel version of the nib. It's okay. This is a fine nib that I ordered, and this nib also comes in medium and I believe extra fine as well. So for me, the next move will be to try the gold nib with the 14K gold. Same pen again. I must say, however, before I go on, this is very nice and juicy writer. Much less effort to write with this one than the steel nib. However, this started out very scratchy and very difficult to work with. This is after tuning it for quite a bit of time and smoothing it and basically taking some time learning how to write with it. Still not my favorite writer, but definitely you can see that it's a lot more wet despite having the Montblanc Permanent Blue, which is not a super wet ink, but it is nice, very nice ink. This gives very good line variation. If we compare the steel nib, does that give line variation? Some, yes. So it gives a little bit of line variation, but definitely not as much and not as easily. So this, after putting so much work, is a much better writer. Nonetheless, if you're heavy-handed like me and you stress upstrokes, this is a very scratchy nib. And like I've mentioned before, I take no pleasure in writing with this pen, despite it being much juicier than the stock stainless steel nib. Which brings us to the third option. This is the same pen, striated ink windows, essentially 100% resembling the 149. And even there's a writing here. They don't have picks like some other company did. But I put a vintage Montblanc nib in here, and it was easy. You just pull the friction fit nib out and put this one in. Much juicier. If we were to look at the line variation, this is a vintage semi-flex nib. It gives some line variation, but by no means this is a flex nib. So if you get one of these, I would not recommend flexing it this much on a regular. If one likes to try the Montblanc experience without breaking the bank, this pen body can be had for about $35 from AliExpress or eBay, and a vintage nib can probably be found for between $150 and $200. So you can have the full Montblanc experience without the snow cap for around $200. Definitely worth trying. Now, worst case scenario, the nib doesn't work out and it can be sold actually for similar price as you bought it. So I definitely recommend that. Which brings us back to what my impressions are about the Wingsung. Before I give you my impression, I'd like to just add a quick writing sample of the actual Montblanc 149. Check for line variation. Not much, but the nib, the modern nib that's on here is quite stiff. It gives you a lot of confidence to write with, unlike the nibs of certain avian varieties, if you know what I mean. It gives you a lot of confidence in pushing this pen. If you have a heavy hand like me, I have no fear. So that brings us back to the original question. What do I think about the Wingsung 630? In terms of buying one of these to write with as a daily driver for $35, if the resemblance to Montblanc 149 was not in play, I would not recommend getting this pen as a daily writer. From my first impression with the steel nib and my 2 to 3 month impression with the gold nib, this is not an easy pen to start writing with. This is dry. The gold nib is scratchy and definitely not worth the $200 that they sell it for. It is a very nice piece of novelty. It's a nice party trick with the heartbeat if you want to show it to your friends. But the show stops there. In terms of buying a pen to write with daily, I would not recommend this over any of the following pens that I'm going to show. Let's leave this here for a second. Jinhao 9019, much better writer, much juicier. The extra fine nib on this is pretty much unmatched by any other Chinese manufacturer that I've worked with. The next alternative would be the Madron C4. The fine nib on this one is out of this world. Writes very nice and juicy. This has been off commission for a while, but if I were to just take it, it is so nice to write with. Still, the Jinhao will probably be the winner in terms of writing experience. We have the Asfine P30. Very nice writer. Extremely nice. We have the Wingsung, actually, 699. A much better, juicier writer. Very nice writer. Around the same price, but actually this is cheaper. And within $20 range, you can get this pen and have a much better writing experience. Like I said, any of these would big time trump, would definitely trump the 630. The next alternative I have for you is the Moonman, the A1, or the A2, the older one. This is a great alternative to the other similar looking pen from Japan, if you know what I mean. The last alternative that I will show is probably my favorite one, another Asfine. Asfine P30 titanium. So what I would recommend from the Asfines is to go with the titanium. It's a little bit more expensive, but do not make the mistake that I did and upgrade to a Bock nib. To me, the Bock nib was total trash. And as soon as I experienced this stainless steel nib from Asfine themselves, I realized how unwise it was to get the upgraded Bock nib. In summary, if I were to choose one of these pens and I was on a budget, I would take Jinhao, definitely, and go with it. Past Jinhao, I would choose any of these over the Wingsung. If you ask other pen people, pen pals, I'm sure that different pen friends will have different opinions, but this is my opinion based on working with these pens for quite a while now. I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think about the alternatives that I posed. I definitely think we should talk about this particular pen in the near future, but if I were to rank these in terms of writing experience, again, Jinhao would be on top. I like the Asfine, and I would put this number 2. And I would put the Moonman A1 at number 3. The other 3 you see here are probably just equal in terms of writing experience, and this would not make it to my top 5. I imagine some of these pens may come out of the box writing very nicely, but the 3 or 4 of these that I have tried, they have been disappointing. Unless you care to put a $200 Montblanc nib on them and to basically Frankenstein it into a Montblanc pen. Outside of that, this pen is not worth price that it's sold at when you consider the availability of all these others. I hope this has been informative and helps one person make a wiser decision. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you in the next one.